The earth trembled beneath the weight of giants. 4.9 million years ago, the world was a cathedral of violence, where death walked on hooves the size of dinner plates and fangs that could split bone like kindling. But even the mightiest predators were merely players in a game they couldn't comprehend. Imagine standing in that primordial theater of survival, where every breath was borrowed time. The air itself carried the scent of extinction, thick with the promise that nothing, no matter how powerful, was permanent. What would you do if the very ground beneath your feet conspired against your existence? The Pliocene epoch stretched across the continents like an endless nightmare of adaptation and annihilation. Massive saber-toothed cats stalked through forests that would make our modern jungles seem like garden paths. Megalania, the monitor lizard that grew to 23 feet of pure reptilian fury, ruled territories larger than modern cities. These weren't just animals, they were living fortresses, biological war machines crafted by millions of years of evolutionary arms races. But here's what the fossil record whispers in the darkness of museum halls. Something was hunting the hunters. Climate patterns during the Pliocene were shifting with the patience of a cosmic executioner, cooling the planet degree by deadly degree. The Ice Age was approaching like a slow-motion apocalypse, and every species on Earth was about to face judgment. Consider the terror birds of South America. Forus racos stood 10 feet tall, with beaks designed to crush skulls and tear flesh from bone. They were apex predators that knew no fear, until the land bridge connecting North and South America opened like a gateway to biological warfare. Northern predators flooded south, bringing competition these terror birds had never encountered. The oceans told their own story of approaching doom. Megalodon, the 50-foot shark that could swallow a great white hole, patrolled seas that were beginning to cool. Marine ecosystems were restructuring themselves around temperature changes that moved like glacial death sentences. But even these oceanic titans couldn't predict what was coming next. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, tectonic forces were building pressure that would reshape entire continents. Volcanic activity increased as the planet's internal furnaces prepared for episodes of destruction that would make modern eruptions look like birthday candles. The Yellowstone supervolcano was accumulating magma reserves that could bury half of North America under ash and fire. Yet perhaps the most terrifying truth lies in what we're only beginning to understand. Recent paleontological discoveries suggest that mass extinction events aren't random catastrophes. They follow patterns, cycles of destruction that operate on timescales beyond human comprehension. Every 2 to 3 million years, something triggers a biological reset button that eliminates entire evolutionary lineages. The fossil evidence from 4.9 million years ago reveals creatures that evolved specifically for worlds that were about to vanish. Gigantopithecus, the 10-foot-tall ape that could crush a human skull in its bare hands, was perfectly adapted for warm Asian forests. But those forests were already beginning to shrink as global temperatures dropped toward Ice Age conditions. What drives these cycles of creation and annihilation? Some scientists point to cosmic events, periodic comet showers that bombard Earth every few million years. Others suggest that the planet's magnetic field undergoes reversals that leave all life vulnerable to cosmic radiation. But the most disturbing theory involves the possibility that mass extinctions are self-perpetuating, that successful species inevitably create the conditions for their own destruction. Standing in that ancient world, surrounded by creatures that dwarfed modern elephants and predators that made lions look like house cats, you would witness something profound. The last great flowering of megafauna before the ice claimed them all. Every roar, every territorial battle, every hunt was simultaneously magnificent and futile. The truly haunting aspect of this prehistoric drama is how completely these titans disappeared. Not gradually, not peacefully, but in geological moments that erased millions of years of evolutionary triumph. The fossil record shows layers where diverse ecosystems simply stop, as if someone turned off the lights on an entire biological epoch. But extinction leaves signatures, and those signatures are speaking to us from across the abyss of deep time. They're telling us that survival isn't about being the biggest, the fastest, or the most dangerous. It's about reading the subtle signs that herald the end of worlds, and having the evolutionary flexibility to adapt when the old rules no longer apply. If creatures that ruled the earth for millions of years could vanish in what amounts to an evolutionary blink of an eye, what does that say about our own prospects? The same cosmic forces that shaped their fate are still operating today, still following patterns we're only beginning to decode. If you want to uncover the next forbidden chapter of Earth's history, follow us into the darkness where ancient secrets wait to be discovered. The silence between heartbeats was when death arrived. In the twilight forests of the Pliocene, where shadows held more secrets than sunlight ever revealed, something unprecedented was unfolding. The giants weren't just dying, they were being systematically erased by forces that operated beyond the reach of claw or fang. But what if I told you that some of them saw it coming? That fossilized behaviors suggest certain species began changing their patterns millions of years before the ice claimed them, as if they could sense the approaching void. Archaeological evidence from sites across 3 continents reveals a disturbing pattern. Megafauna graveyards, where massive creatures gathered to die, not from predation or disease, but from something far more insidious. Climate proxy data shows that atmospheric oxygen levels were fluctuating wildly during this period, creating dead zones where even the most adaptable giants simply suffocated. The Diprotodon of Australia, a 3-ton marsupial built like a living tank, left behind bone beds that tell stories of mass mortality events. These weren't gradual population declines. They were sudden collapses that happened within decades. Imagine creatures that had dominated their ecosystems for millions of years, suddenly gasping for breath in an atmosphere that no longer sustained them. Here's where the story becomes truly terrifying. Recent isotope analysis of Pliocene sediments reveals volcanic ash layers interspersed with the extinction horizons, suggesting that supervolcanic eruptions were creating nuclear winter conditions repeatedly throughout this epoch. The Yellowstone caldera erupted multiple times during this period, each explosion pumping enough ash into the atmosphere to block sunlight for years. But volcanoes were only the opening act in this theater of annihilation. Deep ocean core samples show evidence of massive methane releases from the seafloor, greenhouse gas eruptions that would have triggered rapid climate oscillations. Picture this: temperatures swinging from tropical to Arctic conditions within human lifetimes, forcing entire ecosystems to adapt or perish in real time. The saber-toothed cats that stalked this dying world developed something unprecedented in feline evolution: pack-hunting behaviors. Smilodon fatalis fossils from the La Brea tar pits show evidence of coordinated group attacks, suggesting these apex predators were being forced to cooperate against prey that was becoming increasingly scarce. Desperation was literally reshaping predator behavior. Yet perhaps the most chilling discovery lies in the caves of Europe, where Ursus spelaeus, the massive cave bear, left behind claw marks that follow astronomical patterns. These giants were apparently tracking celestial events, scratching calendars into cave walls as if they understood that their fate was connected to cosmic cycles beyond their control. What were they waiting for? What did they know that we're only now beginning to decipher from their fossilized remains? The answer might lie in magnetosphere data recovered from 4.9-million-year-old volcanic rocks. Earth's magnetic field was undergoing a prolonged period of instability, leaving the planet vulnerable to cosmic radiation that could have triggered mutations, cancer, and reproductive failures across entire species. The very shield that protects all life was flickering like a dying candle. Consider the psychological horror of this scenario. Creatures perfectly adapted to their environments, apex predators with no natural enemies, slowly realizing that their world was becoming uninhabitable. The fossil record shows increased cranial capacity in several megafauna species during this period, as if intelligence itself was evolving as a response to existential threat. But intelligence wasn't enough. Brainpower couldn't stop ice sheets from advancing, couldn't prevent volcanic winters, couldn't restore atmospheric balance once the planet's regulatory systems began failing. The smartest giants died alongside the most primitive democracy of extinction that recognized no hierarchy. Modern paleoclimatology reveals that we're currently experiencing atmospheric changes remarkably similar to those that preceded the Pliocene extinctions. Carbon dioxide levels, temperature fluctuations, magnetic field variations, the patterns are eerily familiar to anyone who studies deep time. The creatures of 4.9 million years ago left us more than fossils. They left warnings carved in stone and bone, testimonies to the fragility of dominance and the inevitability of change. Their silence echoes across geological ages, asking questions we're not sure we want answered. In the end, the greatest predators of the Pliocene were defeated not by stronger hunters, but by time itself. Time, and the cosmic forces that treat entire evolutionary epochs as brief experiments in biological possibility. The Earth remembers everything, even when we choose to forget. And memory, as any paleontologist will tell you, has teeth. If you want to uncover the next forbidden chapter of Earth's history, follow us deeper into the abyss where ancient warnings still echo.